Folks, Coles Hill was a wooded area in 1863, but if you go over there today, you'll find that it's much more thickly wooded than it was then. It was more like an open woodlot. The troops commanded on the Union side at Coles Hill were commanded by the oldest Union general in the battlefield. His name was George Sears Greene. He's the grandson of Revolutionary hero Nathaniel Greene. He is 62 years old. General Greene was an engineer. He was responsible for establishing the reservoir system. General Greene was responsible for establishing the reservoir system in Central Park in New York City prior to the war. And so he was smart enough to have his men at Coles Hill dig in on the night of July 1st. They began to construct entrenchments. You dig a ditch about 2 to 3 feet deep. You throw the dirt outside the ditch. You've now afforded yourself about 4 to 6 feet of earthen protection. Because the area was wooded, they were able to chop down trees, lay the logs out on top of the dirt they've thrown up, place your rifles between the dirt and the logs, and you've got excellent defensive protection. Today, our barricade here in the front of the center of the grandstand will serve as Union entrenchments on Coles Hill. The Confederates will be attacking. Whenever I think about the fighting on Coles Hill, there's 2 things that remind me of the intensity of the fighting there. I've already mentioned 7 hours of continuous fighting on the morning of the 3rd. But folks, of the 7 to 9 million bullets estimated to have been fired by both armies over the 3-day battle, about 1 million of them alone were fired at Coles Hill.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
The volume of bullets fired at Coles Hill gave rise to a belief that there were no witness trees at Coles Hill. Witness tree is a tree that was healed. Folks, you notice on either end of our field we have little tents set up. Those are aid stations. You can see the surgeons there with their bloody smocks on. Down on the Confederate side, and both on the Union side and in the grandstands, you can see ambulances behind those aid stations. Battle of Gettysburg claimed 51,000 casualties in 3 days. The largest battle not only of the 4-year American Civil War, but the largest battle ever to take place in this half of the world, the Western Hemisphere. A little over half that number, 26,000 men were wounded. The 2 armies could remove approximately 5,000 wounded when they left Gettysburg after the battle. That's combined. That left 21,000 wounded men in a town whose population at that time was barely 1/10 that number, 2,400 people. Every building in Gettysburg, every public building, every church, every school was forced to become a hospital. Many of the private residences as well. In 1863, a city was considered 2,500 people. At the time of the Battle of Gettysburg was just 100 people shy of being large enough to be considered a city.
I know.
Ambulances move to the rear of the lines to retrieve the wounded. You were hit in the head with a 1 ounce 58 caliber conical shaped bullet. Most likely you are dead. You are hit in the chest, the abdomen, and the torso. Most likely infection or peritonitis will set into internal organs. They don't know much about that in 1863. 1 ounce bullet hits you in the arm or leg. It's going to crack the bone about 6 to 10 inches. The surgeons will have no choice. They will have to amputate your wrist. Union skirmishers done their job. Get the ball back to the main line. Main body of the Confederate infantry moves up behind its own skirmishers. People often ask us, why did these guys fight like this, shoulder to shoulder? Well, folks, if you were fighting Indian style, spread out, your fire was going to be very spread out. These men damage to. Most of these guys have rifle weapons, spiral grooves inside the barrels. Allows them to kill an enemy at 300 to 500 yards. Because these weapons are so deadly at such a great distance that you don't normally see these armies get that close to each other. Relatively few bayonet casualties.